All right, so welcome everyone. My name is George. I'll be your teacher for today. I'll be listening to that we're gonna be doing. Um, if you guys have you guys had listening before, I'm sure you guys know that some of the recordings they talk kind of fast, pretty fast. So what I advise is get a sheet of paper or somewhere to write with, somewhere you can make notes. You know, maybe if you are fast in your phone, you can try that. Even though notes, handwritten notes, help the most. Okay, so try to catch just the details. Don't try to try to maybe write all the words because they talk very fast. So make notes that you understand, only you understand. And like for example, if they say, like some like a day, like Tuesday or Wednesday, you just write W or D. Abbreviate, your notes. Okay, that can help. We'll see here shortly some examples of notes that you can make on your own with the more we practice here. Okay, so I'm gonna begin here with this lecture with this listening of a lecture of a biology class. Okay, sometimes it does take a while.
Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
Today, we're going to discuss the genetics of eye color. Parents just love seeing similarities between themselves and their children. They'll often say things like, "Oh, he has my nose," or "she has my cheekbones." Now, in the same way, they sometimes expect that a child will have either the mother's or the father's eye color. So, at times they'll get confused. Child is born with an eye color phenotype that neither parent has. This means that the child will have a different eye color than either parent.
Excuse me, sir, but isn't it the parent's genotype, the collection of genes that each parent has? Isn't it the genotype that determines a child's phenotype? And wouldn't this mean that a child's eye color would have to match that one of his parents?
It should be so simple, Marissa. But eye color is one of those features where the genetics are slightly more complex. Yes, Jack?
I'm sorry, but I need you to back up a little bit. Could you first explain what a genotype and phenotype are again? I feel like I don't even know what we're talking about.
No worries, I was getting to that. A genotype is the combination of genes or DNA that codes for a certain trait. A phenotype is the expression of those genes. More specifically, the phenotype is the actual eye color that results from the combination of genes, or genotype, that person has. In the end, the specific eye color is determined by the amount of a substance called melanin in the iris of the eye. To complicate matters further, the iris has two layers, an inner one and an outer one.
Well, before we get to the layers, could you please clarify what an iris is exactly?
Of course. The iris is that thin, round area in the eye that has the eye color. Now, depending on how much melanin is found in each of the two layers of the iris, the eye color can be blue, green, brown, gray, or hazel. To put it simply, The more melanin is found in each layer, then the darker the eye color will appear. Because melanin is like ink. It's like ink for the eye. There are at least 2 pairs of genes that affect eye color, but some researchers believe that there are as many as 8 genes responsible.
So, how are blue eyes produced, like mine?
Well, in blue eyes, the front layer of the eye has no melanin. Some people have so much melanin in the front layer that their eyes appear very dark brown or black. Different levels of melanin in the inner and outer layer determine the different types of eye colors. Now, the pattern in which melanin is deposited is also determined by genetics. It can be deposited in rings, clouds, radial stripes, or even spread over the entire iris. There are actually a lot of different genes that affect the amount of melanin that will be produced in any one person.
Oh, I have a question. So my little cousin is 2.5, and she had bright blue eyes when she was born. Well, actually, she had bright blue eyes up until like 2 months ago, when suddenly her eyes started to get darker and darker, and well, now they're hazel. So how can that happen?
I am glad you asked that. It transitions us right forward into our next point. Now, many babies are born with blue eyes. And this is because the melanin is produced slowly from birth until about age 3. So a person's true eye color is not clearly determined until that age. Depending on what the genotype dictates, the production of melanin will stop when the correct phenotype is expressed in the eye color. Like I said, scientists used to believe that there was only one gene responsible for eye color, but now we think there may be as many as 7 or 8 genes that play a role in it. Genes are like recipes that make up a cookbook. They tell your body and organs what to do and in what way to make you. Just like certain ingredients in a recipe, your genes have certain ingredients that are dominant. This means that the dominant version of the gene will be expressed. Now, for an example, brown eye color is dominant over blue. This means that if a child gets a gene that codes for blue color from the mom and a gene that codes for brown color from the dad, the child will eventually have brown eyes. This is because brown eye color is dominant over blue eye color. Now, this would be advantageous in nature, seeing as blue eyes are associated with an increased risk for some serious degenerative illnesses.
All right, so now we're going to see a few questions. We're going to answer it together. Class. So feel free to comment, what you think and why, you think that be the answer. We're going to go over a few of these questions. So first, what is the main topic of the lecture? What do you guys think?
I think it's the first one. How genotypes influence the appearance of eyes.
Okay. All right. Everyone agrees, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, it's the first
Any
one.
other?
Yes, I think it's the first one.
You're saying, Valeria?
Yes, teacher.
I think it's the first one too.
Okay. Okay, so there's two Valerias. Sorry. Okay, so very good. So let's submit. Okay, very good. So according to the professor, what is true of parents' eye colors and those of their children?
Yeah, I think it's the first one.
Okay, parents are desired to have
Oh, no.
phenotypes matching these of their children. Okay. All right. Any other suggestion?
I think it's the third one. A child might be born with eyes that do not match the color of his parents' eyes.
Okay, so they did mention that too, right? So desire desire is something someone wants, right? So they want to match those for them to have for the children to have the same eye color. This one's saying. So all right. I'll I'll wait for one more answer. You guys A or C? Who wants to support A or C? Okay, anyone taking a guess? Okay, we're gonna go with C. All right. So that was the answer. Okay, so why does the female student mention her little cousin? You guys remember what she mentioned about her little cousin?
I think it's the last one.
Yes, I agree. The last one.
All right. Okay. All right,
I
very
think
good.
it's the first one. I don't know.
Oh, okay. It was already answered. So it was so the last one, right? To ask important questions about how, when, and why eye colors can change. All right. It was actually a pretty interesting lecture. Talk about eye colors. I think so. So what can be inferred about a child when a gene for brown eyes from one parent and a gene for blue eyes from the other parent?
I think it's the second.
Okay. Equally. Yeah. Right, since they have both. You guys agree? Okay. Oh, okay. So it was, if it's born with blue eyes, the color would change to brown. Huh. All right. Let's see where that happened. All right, take a look to his at his notes. You know, maybe they'll help.
This is a very difficult question. It is about a very specific detail in the lecture that is a situation with one brown-eyed parent and one blue-eyed parent that only is talked about near the end for just a moment. The professor talks about dominant genes and says that brown eyes is a dominant trait, which means, he says, if you have one brown-eyed parent and one blue-eyed parent, the child will have brown eyes. Even though there is a blue-eyed parent, brown is dominant, so the blue eyes do not affect the outcome. Instead, the one brown eyes affects, and we get a brown-eyed baby, brown-eyed child. Now, if we look for that in our answer choices, we try to find that the brown eyes are dominant and the child will have brown eyes. We don't find it, not immediately. A, if it is born with blue eyes, the color will change to brown. This is tricky. If it's born with blue eyes, well, we said that a brown-eyed parent will create a brown-eyed baby, so the baby won't be born with blue eyes, right? But here we have it will change to brown, so the child will have brown eyes eventually. And that we can actually infer if we combine this other idea that eye color can change because melanin production is slow. And eventually, in 3 years maybe, the child will have their genetic eye color. They will have the eye color that matches their genes after the melanin is produced. So if we can combine these two parts of the lecture together, we can infer that A is correct. B, the child is equally likely to have blue or brown eyes as an adult. No, this is not true because brown eyes are dominant. To say that it is equally likely means it's a 50-50 chance. That 50% of the time it will be blue and 50% of the time it will be brown. That's not true. It is not equally likely brown eyes will come from that brown-eyed parent. C, in most cases, the child's eyes would be expected to be blue. This is opposite of the truth. In most cases, it would be brown. D, the color of the iris will probably be permanently brown from birth onward. This is very tempting, but it's wrong because we know eye color can change and we can get the correct genetic eye color after the age of 3. So D is very close, but the word permanently is too strong. It is not brown in the beginning, possibly. It's possible that it's blue in the beginning and changes to brown. A is our correct answer.
All right. So we'll move forward with the next question. Okay, so why does the professor say this?
Listen again to part of the lecture. Then answer the question.
In the end, the specific eye color is determined by the amount of a substance called melanin in the iris of the eye. To complicate matters further, the iris has two layers, an inner one and an outer one.
Why does the professor say this?
To complicate matters further, the iris has two layers, an inner one and an outer one.
Okay, so what do you guys think? I'll play it again here.
Listen again to part of the lecture. Then answer the question.
In the end, the specific eye color is determined by the amount of a substance called melanin in the iris of the eye. To complicate matters further, the iris has two layers, an inner one and an outer one.
Why does the professor say this?
To complicate matters further, the iris has two layers, an inner one and an outer one.
I think it's the fourth one. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Right, to set the stage for, for a definition of how eye color is determined. Okay.
Yeah, I'm agree. Is the fourth one?
Okay. All right. Check it out. All right, very good. All right. Good listening. Okay, so the last one of this lecture, which of the following describes blue eyes? Two of them are right.
The first one
Okay.
is one of them.
All right, thank you, Andres. All right. Let's let others, someone else answer for the
third one.
third one. Okay.
I think it's the third one.
The first and the second
As
one.
well.
Yes, I think it's the second too.
First and the second, I don't know.
So dominate G. Okay. So melanin was found where? Was it in the outer? Was it inner layer? What do you guys remember? Okay. So I'm not sure about that. Where it was found? Was it out or in? You guys know? You guys catch that? All right. Let's see what we'll say about that. Okay. All right. So it was actually this one, associated with the risk of certain diseases. Interesting. Let's check out this last part of the video, and then we'll move on with one other lecture. Okay, I think it's having problems with playing the video.
Okay, we have 4 details here that we want to go through one by one and remember where they were in the lecture and what was said. So first, melanin in the outer layer of the eye. Well, we heard the professor talk about melanin making color, and then he started talking about how there's 2 layers of the iris. And the woman asked, well, what is the iris? And the professor explained what the iris is. And then he said that when there's more melanin, there's more color. And blue eyes have no melanin in the outer layer of the iris. Blue eyes have no melanin. So it's not blue eyes, it is brown eyes that have melanin in the outer layer. Next, associated with a dominant gene. The professor talked about dominant genes near the end of the lecture here, and in that end part, he said that brown is dominant over blue eyes. In fact, if you have one brown-eyed parent and one blue-eyed parent, the baby will have brown eyes, or the child will have brown eyes eventually. So that is dominant. It is stronger than. So brown eyes are dominant. Next, the original color of many babies' eyes before they change color. And we saw this light to dark change. The baby had blue eyes and then it changed to brown eyes. So the original color means the starting color, that is blue eyes. Associated with risks for certain diseases. Well, at the very, very end of the lecture, the professor says that brown eyes are dominant because they are beneficial, they are good in nature, because there are many degenerative diseases, illnesses, associated with blue eyes. So illnesses from blue eyes mean that they are not a good thing in nature. Blue eyes are associated with diseases or illnesses. And again, our answers are brown eyes, blue eyes, blue eyes.
Okay, so let's just check out his notes, see what we can benefit from. We can make his example may help us, for the listening that we may follow. So we see how he separates his notes by subject, right? So he doesn't really write everything is mentioned, just very brief details, right? Okay, so that can help. All right, let's move on to the next listening part.
Now listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Hi, Professor Carlson. Thanks for letting me meet with you on such short notice.
Hey, my door is always open. During my office hours, at least.
Yeah, so I'm confused about how to do research for my essay.
Right. In your email, you said you weren't sure how to find valid sources of information online.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember what you said in class about not just using random stuff we find on the internet, and I get that, I do. But what kind of online sources can we use?
Well, that really depends on the subject you're looking into. What's your essay about again?
I'm writing about the effects of river pollution, how it impacts wildlife and people.
Okay, yeah. So if you want to find really reliable info on that kind of pollution, you'll want to look at the reliability of the author. And if...
Yeah, but what if the article doesn't give the name of the author? I've found a really good study on a government website. It looked at a major river in California, measured the pollution, and showed some damage to the local animals, with photos and statistics. But there's no listed author and...
Well, that's...
But I can still trust government research, right? Even with no author?
Well, that's what I was trying to say. You can check to see if a source is sponsored by a trustworthy organization. Governments have a lot of interest in regulating pollution and figuring out its effects. So, yeah, that website is probably a valid source for your paper.
So, to find a valid source, I just need to check the author and the website. Company? The sponsor?
Yes, I mean, not just those two things. To see if something you read online is valid, you really have to look at the whole picture. The author, the website sponsor. Also, you need to look at the year. For example, a report on river pollution from a decade ago could be outdated. The situation could have gotten better or worse since then. And then bias. You need to look for bias.
Bias?
Yes, bias. Does the author or publisher have a reason to lie or distort the facts? Suppose, for example, say you find a write-up on river pollution by a very well-educated scientist. But the scientist researcher's wife is CEO of a company that actively pollutes rivers. In a situation like that, the author could be biased. You know, motivated to understate the amount of damage industrial pollution does.
I think I get the idea, but man, this is confusing. So much stuff to think about when I look at a source.
Well, it sounds like you have found one pretty good source so far. Those government stats. But if you still feel a little shaky, I'll tell you what. Email me links to the next couple of sources you find, and I'll give you some feedback. Tell you if you're still on the right track.
You'd do that? Thanks! I'll take you up on that.
Okay. Let's see. So why does the student visit the professor?
The first one.
The first one.
All right. All right, very good. So why does the professor say about sources with no listed author?
Yeah, the first one.
The third.
The first one.
Okay, so we have a few on the first. Heard the third one. Okay. All right, it does sound like the first one is right. All right, so let's go for that one. All right, very good. Because they do mention about the signs of sources. Okay, so according to Professor, what aspects of source should the students look at?
The second, the third, and the fourth options.
You said which? I'm sorry. You said I already said the third,
Yes.
third and fourth.
Second, third, and fourth.
Second, third, fourth. Okay, let's see. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree? Okay.
I agree.
Just
All right.
me too.
All right. Good. All right, so what will the students probably do after receiving advice from the professor? What do you guys do?
The second.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm agree the second one.
Yes, the second.
So, okay. Okay, good. All right, just listen to this and see why the professor says.
Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Hi, Professor Carlson. Thanks for letting me meet with you on such short notice.
Hey, my door is always open. During my office hours, at least.
Why does the professor say this?
Hey, my door is always open. During my office hours, at least.
I think it's the third option.
Yeah, I agree. The third option.
Okay. Wait for one more answer.
Yeah, the third one is
Everyone else agrees?
yeah, I agree.
What? Okay. All right, very good. All right, one more question for this lecture. All right, how do you guys feel with the listening? Is it pretty fast, or you seem to catch everything pretty well? You guys were doing good in the listening.
It's okay.
All right. Okay, that was it. All right, well, listen, you won't have time to really go through the questions, but we can listen to this and just to practice the listening. So let's listen to this lecture and then I'll be off for today. So let's listen to this.
Now listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
So, Aaron, in your email you said you wanted to talk about the exam.
Yeah, I've just never taken a class with so many different readings. I've managed to keep up with all the assignments, but I'm not sure how to.
How to review everything?
Yeah. In other classes I've had, there's usually just one book to review, not 3 different books, plus all those other text excerpts and videos.
Well, developmental psychology is a little more involved compared to some other subjects. You've looked at the study guide, I assume.
Kind of. Yes. I mean, I haven't gone through the whole thing yet. I'm still just doing the stuff on the first page.
You haven't looked at the second page of the study guide at all yet?
No, I've barely had time to go back over the first two readings from the first page.
Well, no wonder you're so confused about where to start. Let me show you a copy of the study guide. Look here. See what it says at the top of the page? This first page is just a list of all the texts and videos that'll be on the test. The actual guide is on the second page. See?
Oh, wow. And it says what I need to remember from each reading.
Uh-huh. So for example, from the Intro to Adolescent Psychology book, you only need to review the developmental stages from Chapter 2.
And it looks like I need to know everything from the main textbook, the big one.
Right. You'll want to review all the core concepts in the first 4 chapters of Development Through Lifespan. Well, almost all. I forgot to mention this on the study guide, but the test won't really go into Freud's stages of development. Those are a little outdated compared to newer research.
But we're still going over all of Piaget's developmental stages for children, right?
Exactly. And notice that you only need to review about half of the supplemental readings, just the ones that focus on adult psychological development, and the video on Alzheimer's disease, the brain disorder in elderly people. See, I marked it right here.
Okay. I feel like I understand a lot better now. I guess I should have looked at the second page, huh?
Yeah, and I actually did mention that in class. You know, you really should have checked with your classmates before coming to me.
Well, I've always studied alone before.
I don't think students should be studying solo in any class. It's always better to study with a partner or a group. It can really help avoid confusion.
Yeah, I've really had trouble keeping up in class so far. I think I'll join the class study group in the library tonight.
Yeah, please do. Your classmates can probably help you more than I could. You know, when it comes to organizing your notes, getting together a good study strategy, that sort of thing.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to post here just a quick question for today's class. Okay, once you're done with that, we'll be all done with today. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your afternoon, and we'll see each other in the next class.
Sorry, teacher. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where do we can continue this audio, this part of the listening? I don't know how to respond all the questions, or where do we?
Oh, okay. This is just a practice. We do it, together with the class. But well, do you have the professor Melissa's number?
Melissa's? I don't know.
Yeah. You know her? Okay. So if you need maybe more like I guess like a tutor class, this is like just for everybody, to have it all together. So to have the lessons together. So yeah, we'll see you in the next following class. I think you already had 2 listening. This is the second listening, so we'll still have another class together.
Oh, okay. In the next class, we are
Next
going
class.
to do this.
Yes.
Part? Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. No problem. All right, we'll see you. See y'all.
Okay, see you.
Bye bye.